always talk about. Good morning, everybody. We've got so much that's going on across the country. I mean, first off, I want to pray for all those that have prayers for those that in North Mississippi, North Alabama. There's been so many storms hit. Coach Palmer can't join us because his area was hit. He's actually trying to check on some of his property. And I don't know how bad Mississippi is, but I know it's been really bad. So we had storms here, but I was thinking what storms come and then after the storm, here we are in Jackson. We were really bad last night, and now we got 72 degrees and sunshine. So I think it kind of is fitting that sometimes after, we go through a little storm, and what happens? Good things happen. Good things come up the next day. The sun comes out. So at any rate, today, I want to make sure everybody knows there's going to be some really good information, especially for those that are business builders. We're going to talk about some tax things. So to make sure you don't get off early, because there's some things here that you'll want to know that I've been using for years to help you with your taxes and making sure your home-based business. Because I'll be straight honest about one thing. If you'll take these things into accord, you'll make money even if while you're building, if you'll take advantage of all the tax things that are available here. But with that said, I want to also, Todd, let's talk about Destin, because today there's an event in North Carolina. We have a lot of people there with Ken Bailey's team, and a bunch of people's teams are showing up to learn product. But coming up after that is the Destin event. I think we probably have more calls about the Destin event. I believe this is the 4th annual. Am I right, Todd? This is number 4?
It is, and there's some pertinent information there. North Carolina had 100 people register in the last 7 days. So they were sitting at 250 and all of a sudden jumped to 350. Because they weren't providing food, all they had to do was rearrange the room and to be able to accommodate everybody and make some more swag bags. Destin is a little different because the hotel charges about $60 per person for food. And they tried to give us a cutoff date on Friday, but I'm not sure Andrew was supposed to be here this morning. She got it extended. I don't know when she got it extended to. But I do know that we're close to having to turn in some type of round number there. So if you know people that are going, make sure they get physically registered so they can be accounted for on food. Secondly, the hotel block is already 30 more rooms than they originally gave us. So they have not been willing to give us another block. But as of Friday, if you call the hotel directly, they will honor the rate. So you just got to call and tell them. And we didn't, when I had my checkup meeting with them yesterday, they did not know any details of how long they would continue doing that. All they knew is that we couldn't get any more block rooms. I will tell you that if I know Earnest and others have figured out that, and Kristal, I'm going to turn it to you to really talk about this, but they figured out that everybody on your team you get there are the ones that end up working the next 6 months because their belief level grows to a level that you can't do on your own. I can't do it coming to town. Nobody can do it. It's the event. It's the atmosphere. It's the testimonials. What you realize there is there's real people making money. There's real people making serious money, and there's real people with life-changing health testimonials, and they're all just like us. Like nobody's any different. They're school teachers, doctors, accountants. They're just all normal people that decided to take an unnormal route to financial independence. So it's really a magical thing. So if you are trying to get a group to come last minute, I would suggest looking, and it's a bad time of the year. Starting next year, we're going to move this back to early March, late February, because this time of the year, Destin becomes a major league tourist destination. So things do skyrocket up price-wise, and availability-wise really decreases. But there are still, I just checked yesterday, if you type in Okaloosa Island on like Airbnb or on HomeAway, something along those lines, Okaloosa Island, Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Okaloosa Island being the closest, that's where we're actually at. You could maybe find some houses off the beach. You're not going to find anything on the beach affordable. I mean, so if you're looking for economical, you might find like a 4 to 6 bedroom house 10 miles off the beach that would be really affordable, and you could stick a whole team in there with their own rooms, their own bathrooms, things like that. So just know that is one thing that you can look at doing that could help in that. But Kristal, do you want to talk a little bit about the Destin event?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, like something that is just heavy on my heart is I think a lot of times people coming brand new, or maybe have been around a while, they think that the events are, yeah, they're going to learn stuff, but they learn that stuff on the Zooms and the trainings like on Saturdays. And it's more of a like gather around the fire. It's more entertainment. It's wearing the clothes. It's going to the beach. Here's the thing. This is like college. This is university entrepreneurship. And you are here on a Saturday morning because you want to learn. That's what the Destin event is. Almost every single person who has success, if you go to them, if they're making 6 figures or more, you go to them and you ask them, what was the pivotal moment of when your business went from just being, I'm making a little bit of money, I've got some people on my team, I'm, I love the products, I enjoy what we're doing, I'm tied in, I'm getting on the Zooms, I'm right, all the things that all of us say. But there's a moment, there's this sweet spot when something happened that they went from being one of everybody to wholly, like, this is a business. Like, this is what's setting my spouse out of a job. This is what's paying off, for me, over $100,000 in IRS debt. This is it. Every single one of them comes back and says it happened at an event. It didn't happen on a Saturday morning training. It didn't happen one day while you were doing your personal development and reading a book. There is something about the energy of pulling everybody together, and you get to harness that energy. And you hear it said, it goes from your head to your heart. All of a sudden, your belief goes so big, you buy in so big that you realize the only thing that's missing is you. And if that happens at an event, then why the heck would you not get not just you there, but every single person that you could possibly get there? If you have to lay sideways on a queen size bed to get 5 people in your room, you do it. I say that because we've done it. We didn't have money. I was like, you guys, I was broke in a different income bracket when we started this. And so were my friends. And so I did everything I could to keep the expenses low so we could get the most people there. We drove long distances. We did what it took to get there. Because if that's where people start to make the money, then why would I keep myself and my team from getting there? So whoever is out there thinking this is a fun event where you get to wear a shiny dress, this is so much bigger than that. And I don't want you to miss it. And I know Todd doesn't. I know Chris doesn't. None of your leaders want you to miss it because we know where it happens. And it's happening in Destin.
Ernest, would you mind sharing real quick what you told me, why you're fighting so hard to get people there? You're muted. You're
Sure,
muted, Ernest.
like the doctor just said, when I went, I had used Renew before. And that's one of the things Sandra had been, not harassing us, but, just stayed on us about is going to Orlando. So when Donna and I decided to go, and I had told Todd I was still on the fence, but I was going to give it a year. But when I went to Orlando, it's all those ordinary looking folks, and they were just doing, it's just a glow on their face about what they were doing. And I went around talking from table to table just to introduce myself and found out what city or state they were from. And then when I saw that Renew pack, that was it for me. I had not seen that. I think they just introduced it at that at that, and I told Don, I said, what is my budget? I said, can I get $1,000? I want to get $1,000 worth of that renew stuff. And sure enough, Todd, you remember on the way home, I stopped in Atlanta. I made about 4 stops and sold about 4 or 5 packs from driving from Orlando all the way to home. And I set up some Zoom with you on the way. I said, this is a game changer, this renew. And the excitement that you get when you go to an event like that just keep you on fire. And as long as you can keep that fire going, and the only person that's in my downline that's really on fire, she went to the Orlando event as well. And she has been on fire ever since, Jill Longhorn. And she and I are trying to get as many of our downline with the assistance of Sandra and Kim and everybody else to get as many folks to go to the distance, because it's only a short distance, at most 5 hours drive. And I just think that's a game changer. That's a different in the mindset. When you go to an event like that, you see the big landscape of the whole picture. You see what the six-figure folks see, and you just say, I can do this. I can do this. And that's what has been happening to me to some extent. Thank God, and all the blessing goes to him for any success that I've had in the business by placing me under some great leadership like Todd and Chris and Kim and Sandra and all those folks, Kim. And one thing I do well, doing 20 years in the military as an Army Ranger officer, I'm a leader, but I'm a better follower when I don't know what the heck I'm doing until I catch on. And I'm slowly catching on. This is a great industry, and it has transformed my health, and I'm just enjoying it. I know you didn't ask for all that, but sorry about that.
No, Ernest, you identified, in my opinion, the number one trait of success in our industry, and that is being a great listener and being coachable. But and a lot of people do that. But then the second step is then becoming a leader and passing it forward. And you're the one training and teaching and leading the next generation of people in your own organization. So it's both in combination. That is really the magical trait. I always say I'm not that smart, but I listen intently and I learned how to repeat important things, meaning all the science on the products. I do got my master's in nutrition, but that was 20 plus years ago. Most of the information that I share with people is listening to Kristal or Deanna or somebody speak, taking meticulous notes, going back and watching the video over and over, and then just repeating it. It's not that knowledge, some of the things I say, I'm not the one that found that under a microscope. I just heard it and repeated it. So great point. So here is one last thing, and then we're going to get the morning really kicked off with our taxes. And we got a new gentleman you're going to hear from this morning. But I want everybody to see this first because this is approaching. On your website, so what you're looking at now is just your personal webpage. If you go here to events, if you don't go here often, go look, because this will keep you up to speed on everything going on. Just so you'll know, Las Vegas will be the next big event. So as soon as you come out of Destin, you got to be getting your team ready to go to Las Vegas. But if you go here and you scroll down this page, it's going to show you everything you need to know. So there is a Tahiti trip coming up in November. To win this trip, it will be a very, very exclusive trip. It's 6 nights, 7 days in the Tahitian Islands on a cruise ship. It's about a $12,000 per person vacation, and it is totally paid for. All you have to do is and go read this yourself, but there's a 45-week period that's already occurred. We're now in the 45-week qualifying period. You have to make $25,000 more in your paycheck this period than you did the previous 45 weeks. So if you're brand new, you just need to make $25,000 in 45 weeks, a little over $500 a week. Very easy to do if you work hard. Not easy to do if you don't. For somebody that's been in the business, you're competing against previous business. So it actually becomes harder for people that have been around for a while to win this than it is for new people, because you're competing against something you've already created. If you ever have interest in seeing the world and writing it off on your taxes, which you're about to learn how to do today. These are the events coming up around the world. So there's a chance here to go to, and I know Ernest and his wife Donna already have like 3 of these booked. They're going to England, Ireland. I'm joking.
What?
Ernest, get on an airplane. That was a joke. But all of these places are coming up. So you can see if you want to go to one of these locations. There's also videos coming up. And then the big one is Mexico. So go here and read this Mexico trip. This is very important. I've been meaning to do this every Saturday, but I need help passing this along to your organizations. A lot of people have won the Mexico trip and don't realize it, because there's 2 ways to win it. You can advance to officer or senior officer and then hit that same rank at least 2 more weeks during the qualifying period. And that wins you and your spouse and your airline tickets. Go read it in detail. But the other way to win it is with accumulating what we call e-wallet dollars. You can go into your back office. When you get in there, it's up at the very top. Just log into that area there that identifies that. It will show you what you have. You need 189,000, or basically $1,800 for you to go. I think it's like $289 for you and your spouse to go. And then it's like $80,000 per ticket. So you need about $400,000 for 2 and $4,000 for 2 and airline tickets. So you can do it in any combination there, but it is already available to go and register for. So if you have those dollars in there, you need to go ahead and order your vacation. It's right there in there. Next Saturday, we will actually go into that. I'll show you exactly how to place the order if anybody gets lost. But anybody out there that knows anything about the back office at all, you can just share this with your organization. But like Ernest has won it, Sonia's won it. There's all kinds of people that have won it that may not even be aware they've won it because they don't go check those dollars a lot. So it's a great way. Anything you want to add there, Kristal, Chris, anybody?
Right. It'd be great for you as well. Obviously, going to an event like that. We go back to what you said about Destin. I want to reiterate what Kristal said. I can tell you right now when my first event was, and it changed my life. Todd told me I needed to be there. And everything at this business is built between the events, getting your team to build their belief level. And those events will help that. And the people that I have people that say, well, I'm not going to be at the event. I know everything they got. No, you don't understand what you're missing. If you ever notice, top earners always are at events. Why are they there? You think it's because they're there to speak. Nope, most of the time they're not even speaking. They're there because they're plugging in and they're getting their team to plug in. But yes, Todd, I think there's a lot of people that don't even know they won the trip to Mexico and don't even have to check it. So I think we should do that. And I want to ask one thing when I want to say, you talked about product, and I want to get off of that. We'll get back to the subject. You talked about not having to understand the product. Yes, you want to know basic fundamentals. I had someone yesterday in a presentation like, wow, you know so much about nutrition. And I'm like, no, I just repeat what I heard from Dr. Kristal. I was talking about renew, and I think I said it wrong again. I called it DPP3. Just showed how little they know because it's DPP4. I know. And I'm like,
DPP2.
See, it didn't matter to me. But what it meant was, I said, I'm only repeating what I heard from an expert. I'm making that point during this because I see Kim nodding. We don't have to be the expert, but I can listen to an expert. Now, when they want to talk about business and dollars, how you want to talk about comp plan, I talk all about that all day. But you want to talk about DPP4, I did it right that time. I don't know what that is. I just know the renew. I slept so hard last night, I was late this morning. Man, I was out, it's raining slow. Here's my point. That's what those events do for you. They learn the basic things you need to repeat and the things that make you look better. So Todd, I'm sorry, but I was thinking about all the things that have gone on between the events and how important they are. So,
okay, so we're going to do one quick interview and then we're going to get into taxes. So Anthony, if you could highlight Walt and Kim. This will be Walt's first time ever on Zoom. So if we pull this off, it's going to be a miracle. Is he even here? Oh, he is here. There he is. Hey, Walt. Now, this gentleman right here that doesn't know any technology, not real hip on nutrition, has had about 35 new people enter his business in the last 10 days. He's averaging about $800 every Friday now. And the man went and bought him a brand new AT4 GMC truck last week. Drove it over to my house and tempted me to go buy my own. It's the prettiest truck I've ever seen. But Kim, I want you to interview Walt. You and Walt got started with you and wasn't real fast out of the gates, but if you can just you and Walt just kind of talk through all the way from the start to what's now occurring in his organization.
Okay, well, when I first started talking to Mr. Walt, he didn't like none of the products, and he said this didn't work or that didn't work, and I would throw him another product, and I said, well, let's just try this, and he'd say, well, Miss Kim, I don't see no change, and I said, well, you haven't taken it long enough, and then so the next time I talked to him, we talked about deer hunting. We didn't talk about products. So, and then we talked about him working, him doing some work for you and how he met you. So what I did in the beginning was I just got a relationship with Mr. Walt that when he called me, I was excited to hear from him, even though we would talk about deer hunting or we would talk about what kind of work he was doing. And then one thing led to the other, and he kept telling me he had this lady that he believed that would do a good job. And he kept saying, you know, you and Todd needs to talk to this lady. Well, we tried, and that lady, the more we tried, the more she ran. And so he told me one day, he said, I'm going to get her. I am going to just sit down and talk to her. And after then, he did talk to her. I was able to talk to her. I was able then to contact her to get her to set up a time for you and Ashley to go meet with her. And it's been off to the races ever since. So if you want Mr. Walt to talk and tell his version, but that's
I
the
want to
way
hear Walt's
that
version.
it first started.
But first thing, Walt, because the MOA now has made a big difference in your parents. So
Yeah.
you share about the MOA and your parents first, and then we'll go into the business.
Well, it's made a big difference for them, but for me as well. You kind of put it away and you forget about it. And once I got used to taking it, I take it every day now. It's one of the things I do first thing in the morning is I take the MOA. Getting the Renew to me is the best product I've ever found. But my dad, he's 70 plus years old. He's got a lot of medical issues. He's never really, for the last 10 years, able to get around too much. And I give him half a box or so to try. And when he tried it, it just like it gave him his life back. He was out there with an axe trimming fence lines at the church. I haven't seen him hold an axe in 20 years, and they went on vacation. They got a place on the lake over at Lake Talcum, outside of Tallahassee. And they was gone for about a week and they run out. And when they come back, they come to visit. They walked in and sat down in the living room. First question they asked is, where's the mower? They wanted the mower right away. They could already tell that it was fading away and how much it had helped them, and told them on it.
So Walt, you've done one thing as good as anybody I've ever met. You were really coachable about setting up appointments. You don't get frustrated when people run from you. When they tell you no initially, you stay on them until they eventually will take a phone call. Matter of fact, you're setting up so many appointments now, I'm struggling to keep up with all the phone calls you're setting up. Kim and I both are. But talk a little bit about maybe some of your early frustrations and then finally getting your business to explode. You kind of put that in your own words.
Well, there was two people that I had in mind that when I told you that I wanted to do it, one of the ladies I knew well, the other one just through association. And Robin, she was kind of reluctant to do it. She kind of stalled and she wasn't sure that she wanted to do it. And I don't think she understood the process and what all she really had to do. And she finally agreed to try it. Well, before that, we had a lady come in unexpectedly, and she bought the ultimate package right off the bat, and it kind of gave me a little momentum to kind of push a little harder after that. That's what it kind of took. If that wouldn't have happened, I don't know, I may have faded away. I don't know. But after that gave me the momentum, and now I see the potential of what could happen. And so I've been just trying to push the people that I talk to, and tell them what it's doing, and they're seeing results for themselves. The other lady that I initially wanted to get, she's, on the fence. And matter of fact, I just talked to her a few minutes ago, and she's agreed to try some of the products, and hopefully she'll come aboard, because I think that she's going to, from everything I know about her, she's a go-getter, and I hope that she'll eventually join our team.
Yeah. So there's two big things with Walt that everybody wants to really absorb, to include me. I mean, we're all human. Any of us get a little, when we sting our finger against an electric fence, we all jerk back, and that's called rejection. So, Walt, early on, we couldn't get anybody to fall for him, and he just kind of hung on. And, finally his business is taking off now. And I mean, it's literally signing up 3 to 5 people a day now in his organization. There ain't no telling what he's going to have one day now. And that's really the secret to our business. So if you're out there in one of those stuck spots, what he did that some people don't do in the stuck spot is he just kept talking to people, and he didn't over talk it. He talked them into getting an appointment, initially on the phone and then in person. And matter of fact, he's got a guy he's been working on now for 3 weeks in Baton Rouge. I've called him twice, went to his voicemail, and now he's got him ready to take the phone call. And so you just got to be consistent. So, Walt, you just said it. You might not even hung on if you hadn't had one fall in. So I think everybody goes through that. There's no escaping that feeling in the beginning. It's the beginning.
Yeah. And another thing, if some people get discouraged, like we have one of the ladies, I mean, she's just took off, and a lot of people can't compare to that. And I don't want folks to get discouraged because they see somebody just running away from everybody with, how many people they're bringing in, because that's not normal, I don't believe. And like you said one time, you just got to keep pecking at it. You can't compare yourself to something that's unusual, that don't normally happen. You just got to keep taking baby steps, and it'll happen. Anything you want to add, Kim?
No, sir. They just keeping me more busier, and I love it. I love my Panama City group, and I'm thankful for Mr. Walt that he just kept on, and I'm glad he likes the Renew and the MOA. I tried him on them skinny drops. He did not like them, so that's okay. We'll go on to the Renew and the MOA, and I'm just looking forward to what Mr. Walt brings to the table.
Well, on the skinny drops, they was working, and I think it's a good product. They was inconvenience for the type of work I do and my schedule. And while I was taking them, it was working, but it was just, I couldn't stay on a routine with the way I work to make it work like it should work. If I could have stuck with it, I believe that I don't think I'd have any problems with it, because I do believe it works.
Well, Walt, we congratulate you, man. You, a lot of people quit in the stage you were in there for about 60 days. They don't make it out of that. So we're just proud of you. Very, very proud of you. And there will be other valleys, as there is for everybody, until it finally just goes. I know you're trying to get that second leg up and running now, and it's the same process. And some of you out there that may be listening, you may be on your first, second, or third leg, but every leg requires the same battle. You just finally got to get to somebody, it gets to somebody, it gets to somebody that takes it serious like you, and off it goes. And when it does, it's passive residual income for the rest of your life.
All right.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Walt, for hopping on Zoom with us this morning. Thank you. And we're going to pull up now. Kim, you stay with us, because Kim is a bookkeeper by trade, so she may be able to add. But Jerry and Allison are our featured guests today, and they're going to talk taxes. Jerry has his accounting degree. My dad is a CPA of 40 plus years. And I'm just going to set the premises by saying this, that, and Jerry's going to tell you how, but now that if you're only an employee of somewhere, no matter what you make, you really have no tax advantages. So having your newfound business that you now receive a 1099 and you're an independent business owner, that now equates to 157 different tax write-offs that you originally didn't have. To name a few would be 60 something cents a mile driving down the road. It would be all your supplies, which would include new computer, TV, if you need to present on it. It would include, if you're on your social security number as your tax ID number, a percentage of your house that you're using for this business. Meaning if you have a Zoom room, as I do, or area, that you mark off that percentage of the house, and it's that percentage of your house note, your electric bill, your all bills at the house, your cell phone bill, if you're using your cell phone. Now, if you're barely using it for the business, it's got to be a percentage if you get audited. And that list is a mile long. But what Jerry's going to do this morning is give you some specifics. And I feel like he's found maybe one of the best ways to track it, because you can write off anything you want to. When it's going to matter is when you get audited. When you get audited, you just have to provide documentation. And if you provide documentation, you're in the clear. So, Jerry, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thank you, Todd. We were, I think it was sometime last year that Laura Sales had a guest on as Courtney Epps to talk about that. And I know my sister was very interested in it. So I said, hey, I'll jump on there and see what I can find out for you and, see if it'll work for us. But so I watched that presentation and I was very impressed with what she said. And I'd heard you talk about that too. And I've been a business owner and I've been able to write expenses off through my businesses, but most of them have not been a home-based business. I had, it was a brick and mortar location. So we'd write off stuff, but it was only through that location. This has really changed a lot of things because one of my businesses that was my payroll, my W-2, kind of went away. So I was no longer a W-2 employee. So I found this and it was like really clicked with me on how to take that and apply it to all facets of my life and start really saving some tax dollars. And I have to point out too that, it's on your website to go and see Courtney Epps do her thing. I really recommend anybody to do that, especially, everybody just needs to do it. And you need to find a way to track it. I am going to show you here in just a second the method that I started using last year. And I really like it. It's really come a long way. But any method that you use, just use it, okay? Because there's so many things to write off here and to save the money that you are earning. And if you have other businesses, you can save against those other businesses as well. Now, I did get a little clarification. It depends on how your businesses are set up as to what you can take off and what you can't against your other businesses. But if you're a sole proprietorship in multiple businesses, then they all just flush together. I think that's right, isn't it, Kim? So I'm going to flip over and share my screen and show you the program that I'm using right now. And it's one that Courtney Epps recommends. You can go find it on her website called OBT Tax. And I'll kind of just show you how it goes. It's pretty cool. So this is the Hurdler app itself. And you can see and although this is on the computer, it looks the very same on the phone or on the iPad. So it works really good. So you can see it notified me that I have some potential mileage deductions. So I'll just click into there. And so, okay, I drove down to Zoe's. We brought some Renew packs with us. We're going to find somebody to do and talk about it. So I'll just click business. Which business is that?
So Jerry, let's back up there because this is really, really important. Zoe is Allison and Jerry's daughter that's married now down in Jackson, Mississippi. So they have driven from North Mississippi to Central Mississippi several hours to see their daughter, but you're going to be able to talk about the business and click business and deduct the mileage coming and going. So I just want to make sure that's real clear how you tie the two together.
Yeah, okay, now she is a brand partner and she's all, she's all on board. They're in conference weekend right now, so she can't be with us, but we talk about it every time we're here and she uses all the product. We always bring something just so we have some documentation. If you'll bring, have some documentation with you, it's real hard for an auditor to say, hey, no, you didn't do it. Well, yes, I did. I did do that.
But you need to document.
So yeah, make sure you document. And in here too, it's hard to show with all this stuff going on my screen, but when you click
Jerry,
it,
I want to say
Go
one
ahead.
last thing, make sure I'm seeing this right. But if you look over there on the right-hand side, all of these miles are this trip to see their daughter. And you can see it's already running against the calculation of what you get per mile. So 20 plus 73 plus 71 plus 5. That means 160-ish something dollars that they're now able to deduct against any earnings they make. Just wanted to clarify that. Sorry, Jerry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
oh no, that's exactly right. And so this is already adjusted for this year at 61.5 cents. Last year, in the first last year, it was a split year. Somewhere about July, it changed over from 59.5 to 61.5. So now it's more than 50% or whatever of that thing. So yeah, that's a lot of dollars. When we're also setting up a family vacation, but we're going to have an agenda and we're going to have meeting times where we're going to go over the products. All my kids are brand partners and we're going to discuss everything. So we all get to write that off as much as we can. And we can't do entertainment, some other stuff, half the meals, but there's going to be a lot of expense that we can write off that I never could have done without a home-based business. So I think that's remarkable in how to do it. And I would have to say it's also a big selling point to anybody that has multiple business. When you're with a businessman, and I know Chris will speak to it, he really likes to find people that know business to go after business. But if they don't have a home-based business, they're really leaving a lot of tax dollars on the table. And it's going to save me anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 this year. And I'm not probably going to make a lot of money at Partner Co. I will make some, but not much. But I even against my other companies, though, I'm going to save $4,000 to $8,000, which is phenomenal. And I couldn't have done it without Partner Co. So
Yeah. So Jerry owns 4 or 5, Jerry and Allison owns 4 or 5 different businesses. So if you are a small business owner already, like I know Walt is, the gentleman you just heard from, owns a land clearing company here in the Panhandle of Florida. But Jerry, explain how they can, how it will allow you to put each thing into the business. It'll ask you which business to put it in.
yeah, on my screen right here is like this is last year's mileage. So you can see, yeah, so you can see all these little things, and all these were somewhere to do the mileage. But yeah, so back over there, also, I really like the little home. So I had some potential deductions that also showed. I'm gonna have to shrink that, see it. So I had a $98.28 thing pop up. So I'll select the category as to what that was. What was it? Do you remember? I think it was a meal. I think we had a meal. So I'll select what it is and I'll choose what business.
No, you
and
chose,
pay.
you chose, okay.
Yeah. So by doing those 2 things, I now book that as a business meal over on my Partner Co side of the
So
company.
like advertising, we mark that as
Yeah.
a different.
Here I advertised for my radio, Hub City Flea. It was promotional. So you can, and it's all done just with a couple of clicks. It's the most intuitive, and it'll give you suggested rules. So if you click on the suggested rules, well, here's Facebook. What do I do with Facebook software stuff? Well, I always write that off because that's where I do my advertising. So I can approve that rule. And from now on, I won't have to answer that question. It'll always tag Facebook for that company and for that category. So it really remembers what you're doing. And I think that's one of the most intuitive things I've seen in an accounting package.
What was the cost of this, Jerry?
You can get a free version that'll just like track your mileage. But if you want to do all of this right here, I'm wanting to say it's $14 or it's either $9.95 a month or $14 a month. But it was very, very easy to set up. And like I said, I have multiple businesses. Now I tied my credit card. I have a credit card I use just for Partner Co, American Express. I tied a credit card that I use just for our flea market operation. And then I have another credit card where I do multiple things where if I'm just, it's just kind of anything else. And so I tied all three of those to this. So every day it goes out and checks and pulls them in and then asks me, okay, well, first he'll say, is this a regular recurring thing that I've already set up a rule for? Or if not, then it'll flag me to answer the question, what did you buy and where should it be? Most of the time it figures out that what it is, like if it's a gas station, it'll pop up fuel, it just kind of knows. Of course, with us, last year we bought a Tesla. So when we do our expenses at 61 cents a mile, I mean, that kind of includes fuel. Well, fuel for a Tesla is just practically nothing. So the savings last year alone, I'm gonna write off 1/3 of the car just in mileage. So that's a good thing. I mean,
That's a
I couldn't
huge
do that
thing.
any other way.
That's a huge thing. So
Yeah.
Kristal, you had a brick and mortar business with your chiropractic business. Now you have a home-based business. Anything you want to add or ask?
Yeah, I think this is the tax part of this. I just don't think that most people who are getting a W-2 really understand that the tax laws were written for business owners, not for W-2. And so if you have this is the perfect way. And honestly, this time of the year, there's a reason why network marketing explodes, because people go, I can't believe I have all of this money to pay in. And just simply by changing where they're redirecting their energy drink, they're redirecting their nutrition to something better. They now have the ability to have the tax write-offs of a business owner. And one thing is as a business owner, there were things that I still, like as a chiropractor with my brick and mortar, I could still, my account was like, you cannot write off that home office that you have at your house. Even though you're sitting there doing things for your office, you can't write it off. The minute that I began here, she's like, all right, we get to write off this square footage now. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I paid $29.95 and now I can write off a portion of my house and my electric bill and my internet and I couldn't do that with a company that made me over $500,000 a year. But yet I could do it with a company that I paid $29.95. Like, you want to talk about, like, that is not rocket science. So it's a really great way to be prospecting people right now. So
at researchmoa.com or researchpartner.co, both the same place, under business videos, the bottom video will be the Courtney Epps lady. Thank you. Whoever just did that. I guess that's Jerry. So that lady will identify to you on that interview everything you can write off. You can actually use her as your CPA. I'm not sure what she charges, but she is the tops in the network marketing industry. But Chris and I have both been audited. We both passed with flying colors. But the one thing you have to do is provide documentation of whatever you're writing off if you're audited. And when Jerry pulled this up in Jackson, Tennessee last week, I was like, oh my goodness, that's the best. I've seen a bunch of them, but this is the best one I've ever seen. So it's worth its weight in gold. I wouldn't care if they charge $29 a month. This is something that can really save you an enormous amount of money on your taxes. and protect you if you're ever audited, because it's all going to be there, very well tracked. And that's really what they're looking for. They just want to make sure you're not cheating the system. Anything you want to add, Chris or Jerry? Did some other things come to your mind?
Well, on the pay version that I have, it also sets up for your accountant, whoever you're using, to be able to log in and get all of this information when they start to do your taxes. So you can run just about everything here that, you need to. Of course, you got to keep all your bank statements and all that kind of stuff. But, and I want to preface too, so I am an accountant, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax preparer. So, talk to your accountant on that and make sure that you're covering all your bells and whistles. But this is a great way to do it. And I'm just elated that I'm saving so much money on everything else. I can't even, don't know what to say on that.
Yeah. Jerry mentioned it. I just want to reiterate it. With my dad being a CPA, he kind of gave me some certain rules I couldn't break from day one. And one is he made me go get a certain credit card. The one he wanted me to get was the American Express Platinum. So there is an annual fee with that. I think a significant amount, about $400 or $500. But the reason for that is that will itemize it. And his rule with me is, Todd, I don't care if you buy a bottled water while you're traveling, that has to go on the card, or either you got to keep up with receipts, and keeping up with receipts is an impossibility in today's world, at least for me anyway. I'm just not analytical enough to do it. So between the card and now me adding this, I'm full time. So basically my truck is 100% of the mileage we write off, because that's my work truck. But if I was part-time, it has to be broken down. So most people are part-time, and that's where this app is going to pay you huge dividends, just tracking your mileage and be able to click a button and identify what those miles were for and have it separated when you, if you were to ever get audited. Chris?
One thing I would add to that is that obviously we both are full-time, and yes, I've been audited more than once. And Kristal hit on it, or Jerry did, that the government wrote these laws for the small business. If you wonder why they did that, it's because 60% of the economy in our country is needed by the small business owner. So these laws are made to take advantage of. So don't think you're doing something wrong. You're doing what they set in place. And so I learned to play by their rules. I heard somebody say that once. I didn't make the rules. I'm just learning to play, just like Monopoly. And I'll give you a quote from because I take advantage of every single thing that I possibly can. I love this app, by the way, Jerry. I've never had that. I've always had to write and keep stuff written down. But I'll give you a quote from my banker. You make more money and pay less taxes than any customer I have. And the reason, she didn't mean that rudely. I said, it's just because I take advantage. I have a nice office in my house, and I write off the square footage. And I write off 90% of my car. My present accountant won't allow me to do 100% of one car. She's like, we don't want to do anything to cause a flag. But I write off duties. We do everything around it. We haven't been on a vacation in 22 years, but I've been I've been a lot of places. But they're always tied to business. And Judy wants to go to Italy, and she wants to go to Ireland. I've already talked to Cameron about hooking me up so I can do a meeting in Ireland. I'm sure I'm Irish by blood. It's old Doyle originally. So what am I saying? Take advantage. They're not going to. And by the way, I'll give you, when my audit, I think Todd knows this. So I got audited, and I went through all this with an auditor. Guess who joined my business? My auditor signed up. That's a true story. I can tell you his name, where he lives. He signed up in my business. Now, he's not done much, but I'm still convinced he signed up because he's active to take advantage of the tax laws, because he knew them, and he's just seen me do it all. And I'm like, that's a good sign that an accountant, an auditor from the IRS didn't question it. So anyway, too much information. TMI today.
Any last things to add there, Miss
Todd,
Kristal?
I have one thing to say.
Oh, go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
This past year, we had to put a new central air conditioning unit in our home, and it was unexpectedly, and it was like $8,000. And I didn't even think about, with me having my home-based business, but I was able to, they did use half of that. And then next year, since I didn't use all of it, then if I need it next year, my accountant is going to use the rest of it for next year. You can do I don't know if it's called repairs, but that's a you know, if you ain't got air, you gonna burn up. So, she was able to do that this year and then half the rest of it next year. So, that's just a corner that I really didn't think I could do it. But since I have a home-based business, part of my home is my business that she took off. And, we was able to do 4,000 this year and 4,000 next year.
Capital improvement.
Yeah, so I do want to reiterate what
Yeah.
Jerry said. My dad's a CPA. I am not. Jerry's an accountant, but we're not your CPA. So we're giving you generalities here. You know, go listen to Courtney Epps. She's the expert. The video's there. It's an hour long. She goes into great detail. Go to her website, join her newsletter. You can, we're going to try to get her booked on a Saturday here coming up. But even if you're starting to do something well here, you might even use her if you don't have it, because all accountants aren't the same, meaning some will understand this better than others. My dad happened to be an accountant that specialized in big business, so he understood this home-based business stuff really well, but not as well as Courtney. Courtney's the best on planet Earth. She identified some stuff on her thing that I told my dad about, and he had to go research it to make sure it was correct. So I encourage you to listen to her, use her possibly. I will tell you one other really big one, and I'm not the one to tell you the exact rules on this, but I'm just going to plant the seed for you. Every car I've bought the last 20 years in this industry has weighed more than 6,000 pounds, because if you buy a car more than 6,000 pounds, in today's world, it's 100% depreciable the first year. So, for example, if you bought just use Brent Palmer. He just brought him a brand new $95,000 Denali truck. He's able to take the entire $95,000 and write that off top line earnings. So if he made 100, he made a lot more than this, but let's just say he made $100,000 on his 1099. Well, he can apply 95,000. He has 5,000 left to pay taxes on, but then he's got all those other deductions. So just know that's available too. But there are some rules that are different between full-time and part-time. So you've got to ask somebody who knows before you go and do that. But it's something to know that you don't want to buy a car that weighs 5,700 pounds when you can buy a 300-pound more car and write it all off. And Jerry, I think it's the same thing with like you've got a different write-off with the electric Tesla. There's something like the government has on that, no matter what, isn't there? Aren't you able to?
The Model Y qualifies. I had Benny check that. So it does qualify for that. But in 2023, yes, there is a $7,200 tax credit that goes on if you buy one. So they're trying to really push that out now. So far we've had no trouble with the grid or anything like that. But just if they push too hard, I've never had to wait for charging, but I don't want to start either.
Hold on one second. One of the number one things that I hear from the field when it comes to accounting is, well, I went to my accountant and they said I can't do that. And if you are a leader in an area, what I highly recommend you doing is finding look around. Is there any other network marketing companies in the area where there's leaders? Ask them who they're using as an accountant. It's time, you have to be business. You have to interview your employees, and your accountant works for you. So find the accountant who's going to work for you. And the other side of that is you can say to this accountant, I need you to learn how network marketing works for me. And if you will do so, I will recommend you to the rest of my team as it grows. Start being the business person and not being be the dog, don't be the tail.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That was exactly what I was going to say. My accountant passed away. I went with another accountant, and I was like, they don't get what we do. So I had to switch again just because they did not understand our industry. Very important.
Jerry, what is Courtney Epps' website? Do you know that by chance off your head?
OBTtax, I think, .com.
OBTtax.com. OBTtax.com. So that's a great place to start because she can do it remotely if you don't have somebody. I don't know what she charges. She may charge a lot.
when I first called them, because I kind of did it, I said, nothing's working or whatever. But I called them and they had staff answer real quick. Oh yeah, well, let's get you, let me resend this. You click here, boom, and then boom. I'm like, wow, okay, we're up and running. And they're like, oh, if you have any questions, call back. I thought the customer service was, for me, really good. So if I could rate it a 5-star right now, I would. But I hope everybody has that same experience in whatever they use.
What was the website again? Hers? Because as much as I love my accountant, I want every advantage I can get.
OBT.
Tax.
Mhm. And I actually sent my link to Benny, my accountant, so he could watch that same thing I did. So he would go and learn some of those tricks. And I think he did, because during our taxes last year, he would call me back, and that's how we worked out. And something that we talked about the other day, and Hill Blue brought it up, was how do we separate our product between what we buy and everything. And I think what we worked out between me and Benny was, I set up my auto ship, and that's my product. But anything else that I bought, I use for promotional or sales or whatever. And then I'll be honest, it's hard to keep up. I use like a 10% of what I bought extra, as I record that as retail sales, just as a percentage. So that's kind of how I do it. And then the rest of it is all promotional, which
Yeah.
is 100% expense.
That is always a sticking point with my dad. So what Jerry just said, for whatever reason, it never dawned on me to divide it that way, but my dad is always very peculiar when I try to write off product. He's like, I don't know about this. So being able to separate it the way Jerry just said is really important. Your auto ship is your product. Things you go buy extra are promotional products, which are 100% deductible. But you have to have a way to separate that if you're audited. Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Kristal. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Kim. Walt, if you're still with us, thank you for hopping on Zoom this morning. He's probably sitting in the middle of the field watching bulldozers make subdivisions somewhere in Panama City. Technology.